These are the Fantasy Facts presented by Gridiron Experts with your hosts, Pat Loftus and Seth Keller.
Welcome back, everybody. Before we get into everything tonight, before we introduce the special guest, before we talk about the AFC and the NFC West, Seth has a little public service announcement for everyone. So, Seth, why don't you lead us off?
Yes, thanks, Pat. So with us being in a position where we get to talk fantasy football and do things like this, I thought it was kind of imperative right now to take a quick second and just talk real quickly about what's going on in the world, since that does impact all of us. There's obviously the Chauvin trial that's happening and causing a lot of emotions. There was a shooting, a mass shooting that took place 5 minutes from my house at a grocery store where my one of my best friend's mothers was currently working. And so she's probably the most famous Instagram person I know in person right now, because her picture is on the Instagram feed for the police and everything that's happening there. Even within our own little fantasy world, there is, sexual harassment, misconduct, just inequality that's happening. So I just want to take a moment to say how grateful kind of I am that we're able to do this. And hopefully that we're able to, in our personal lives, make some decisions that make us and the people around us better. We're able to be respectful to those around us and show people love. And we can have, a great time. We're going to have a great show, but I just wanted to put that out there. There's always a way for us to kind of touch base and hopefully move the conversations forward. And it's terrible that events like this seem to need to happen in order to further the conversation. And I just wish that they wouldn't, because we can kind of take that step forward and become, the people that I think we all actually, should be and could be. So that is your public service announcement. Be a good person. Don't be a D-bag. We're all good people. We all deserve to be treated with respect and equity. So please, let's do that. I hope everybody's able to stay safe. But yeah, let's get on with the show, guys.
Absolutely. Well put, Seth. Well put. Welcome, everyone. This is the Fantasy Facts podcast brought to you by Gridiron Experts. We'll get through some of the business here real quick. Make sure you follow the show at GX Fantasy Facts. Follow me at Dynasty_Pat. Follow Seth at FFTheAtHomeDad. I'm in this routine of saying it, but now that we're live, you guys can see it on the screen. So maybe I should just start cutting that part out. But with us tonight, special guest. Full disclosure, Seth actually asked because we know you as Rhinos. I actually went on your Twitter page to find it. Luckily, you had it in there. So welcome, Ryan, to the show. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter? Anything, any articles, anything you want to plug? Now's the time to do it.
Yeah, thanks, Seth and Pat. Thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun, as always. And as far as articles and content creation is concerned, I leave that to the professionals. I leave that to people that are much smarter and better than me at this stuff. So I'm just a fan. I enjoy consuming as much as possible and hopefully getting a leg up on my league mates and on my dynasty leagues. You can find me at Real Rhinos on Twitter. And I'm just a member of the community, here to have fun and enjoy all the interactions with great folks like you.
Awesome. Glad you could join us tonight. Seth, you want to cover the promo and the contest real quick, and we'll get into the opening question?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys are watching, you guys would be able to see that Pat and my style is lacking, yet Ryan's is on point, because he has a gorgeous JT28 RBs Do Matter shirt from the wonderful people over at Viridian Global, who we have just started a partnership with. And you can get some of their amazing gear, like that beautiful shirt that Ryan's showing off for us, with a 10% discount if you use the promo code FAQS. Even better, to sweeten the pot, we have the new Jamarvel shirt, the Jamar Chase, absolutely beautiful, crisp, clean, kind of Marvel play on words. We are giving that away to one lucky person that shows the show a little bit of love, however you want to, and lets us know where Jamar Chase is going to be drafted. So as soon as the draft happens, we'll be able to let whoever that lucky winner is know. Yeah, we're super excited. I just placed an order with them also for the I'm Undervalued shirt. One, because I kind of feel that just in life anyways, I feel undervalued. And who doesn't love finding, those undervalued players out there? So make sure you give at Viridian Global a follow on Twitter, and make sure you check out the promo code, which is going to be on your screen right now. It's FAQS. Use it at checkout to save 10%.
I was saying, well, Seth has that up. To enter, make sure you DM either the show, myself, or Seth with your guess, the team you think is going to draft Jamar Chase. Please do it before the draft starts. None of this bullshit like, oh, he gets drafted to Miami and everybody floods us with, oh, Miami. No, draft us, DM us before the draft, please. And if multiple people get it right, we know you will. We'll do a blind draw. I feel like that was a great segue into our opening question, but we missed our chance. You missed the chance to hit the drop there.
No, wait, hold on. There it is.
It's time to pop one open with the opening question.
I really need to give you more jobs, Pat, because
no,
I'm
you
like,
don't.
I'm
You
set,
don't.
I'm
I do. I do
banner
just
across
enough.
the bottom of the screen. I'm doing the props. I'm
do
really
just
the
enough.
face of the show. Also, like,
wow.
I mean, we're live now, so
People can judge.
people can see and can judge.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Opening question this week comes from at @KFantasy_sports. I don't know if it's rank, if it's pick one, but he has 3 dynasty buy low wide receivers. He has Christian Kirk, Quintez Cephas, and Robbie Anderson. Ryan, of those 3, which one do you prefer as your best dynasty buy low candidate?
Just off the bat, Quentin Cephas's name, is the one that jumps out in my mind. Kenny Golladay moving on. There's a lot of uncertainty. Actually, Marvin Jones Jr. also moving on. So there's a lot of opportunity for Quintez Cephas. He was great at Wisconsin, just a target hog. And, we'll see if Jared Goff, I think that Jared Goff, or if Detroit's bringing in a new quarterback via the draft, he could have an excellent opportunity, and I think you could get him for relatively cheap. So he would be he kind of stuck out like a sore thumb amongst those 3.
I love it. My line's getting a little love. I like Cephas as well. I think I snagged him in every dynasty league I could. What I don't like is seeing both Ty Williams and Perriman coming in. Rumors that the Lions are going to draft. It's not even rumors anymore. They're going to draft a wide receiver. And if it's Chase at 7, if it's Waddle, if whoever, they're going to bring in another wide receiver. So I feel like it's going to be open competition across the board. It's not just, Cephas as the second-year veteran versus a bunch of rookies. I personally like Robbie Anderson out of this group. I think he is tied to the quarterback with the most upside. I can't say the best because Kyler Murray's the best, but I think Darnold provides some pretty good upside. He's coming off a 1,000-yard season. That was with Teddy Bridgewater. I mean, Darnold is a huge upgrade over Bridgewater. Even if Carolina adds another wide receiver, Anderson's the wide receiver 2 there, and he gives your wide receiver 1 upside. So I like Robbie Anderson out of this group.
Yeah, he was one of the guys I was just about to throw in there, and I hate all of us being on the same page, but I think it shows a point too. Like, all of us love the fact that Cephas is like right now, like he's the guy, but he's like de facto the guy because there's no one else there. And to me, that it's almost like a double-edged sword where it's like, yeah, he's the only guy. I'm so excited for him. But then the other half of me is like, he's not going to stay the guy, though. Like, they're going to do something to bring somebody in. Can he hold that position? Maybe. But it's just kind of like that, oh, man, I don't know if I fully trust that he's going to be the guy, and that's what makes me a little bit nervous about him. And unfortunately, I loved Christian Kirk. I think I'm at the point now where it's like he's just going to clog a spot on my roster, and I know it. And I'm going to try and get rid of him if I can. But then the part of me is just going to be like, you know what, Christian, we got one more year. Come on, baby. Let's go. Let's go for the 3-4 5th year breakout at some point. I mean, it worked out for Devontae Parker.
I was just saying, we should start calling that the Devontae Parker. That's the Devontae Parker.
Yeah.
The Devontae Parker road to success.
That's right.
It's not a fun road to be on, though, if you're there from, the beginning. So
I don't have the patience. So.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, one more point to make with Cephas is I look at quarterback tendencies a lot. And so if Jared Goff remains, the starter, which I think he will in Detroit, just look what he did with Cooper Kupp in the slot. And Cephas is a slot receiver. He's a pure slot receiver. So whether they even bring in a Jamar Chase or somebody of that caliber, I'm not concerned about that necessarily eating into Cephas's market share. And because of the uncertainty that you just pointed out, that's what you have to capitalize on when you're trying to acquire him from other league mates. You want to identify those polarizing players that you believe in their upside and go attack and just send out low ball offers. And you know what? They'll find your way onto your team.
Or that like a guy in your league like Pat is a Lions fan, and then you just upcharge the hell out of it.
No, see, I already got him. You can't do that with me. You can't do that with me because I already got him. I already have him. I'm not going to go out and get him. I already have him.
Yeah. All right. We ready for some breaking news?
Yes, we are. So a surprisingly light week in terms of news as we're 9 days, we're single digits, 9 days away from the draft. Couple of notable retirements, and I think what might be the greatest retirement video that I've seen. Alex Smith dropped a great video on Instagram. He officially retires along with someone he played with for just a little bit this year, but Jordan Reed also retires as well. So I think it was definitely time for Reed to retire. And I saw something earlier where he went to see a specialist, and the specialist basically told him, you need to retire now. Bad things are going to happen if you don't. So a couple of retirements.
It has to be asked. Are they Hall of Famers? Because everybody that retires now instantly needs to be asked, was their career a Hall of Fame career? So are they Hall of Famers?
No.
No.
I love no.
We even have to
They're
ask.
not. Okay. I just wanted to, a little hyperbole. But yeah, there we go. I'll get it eventually. You know that.
Still a lot of fun watching their careers blossom. I'm a San Francisco 49ers fan, and when we first drafted Alex in 2005, we left him a really tough road to be successful in his career. He was dealing with the turnover at head coach and offensive coordinating early on in his career really stunted his growth. And Niner fans grew impatient quickly. That all turned around when Jim Harbaugh came to town, and the two of them were able to really put things together, and we instantly became contenders. So I still remember vividly the greatest game I've ever attended was the 49ers divisional playoff game against the New Orleans Saints in 2011. And man, it was just an absolute madhouse at Candlestick Park. And to cap it off with the rear naked boot to the left side. Alex ran it for like 30 yards into the end zone to seal the game. It was incredible. So kudos to him. Awesome career. Tough as nails. Can never question his competitive nature. So he will always, be first class in that area of his game.
Yeah, and I think I asked the Hall of Fame question as a joke, obviously, but it doesn't. I don't mean it to demean anybody's career, because he had an incredible career and he has an incredible story. The fact that he came back from the leg injury that he had, like those pictures are like haunting. Like they're really gross. And that man went through that and still got on an NFL football field and played not amazing football, but even just playing any football at the NFL level after an injury like that is in and of itself a ridiculous accomplishment. And, even with Jordan Reed, he's had a career where plagued with concussions, but when he was on the field, man, he was so good. Like you could, at least in terms of fantasy, you played him any chance you got when you thought he was going to be healthy, right? Because you never knew what he was going to be able to do. And he had games where, he was able to float your team because of just a really great tight end production, right? And so, not to knock either of those two careers, wish them well. Hopefully, no more concussions, no more shattered legs, and then infections in the shattered legs, and being told that you might need to amputate your leg. That's a little crazy. Hopefully no more of that for Alex Smith. No more concussions for Jordan Reed. They get to live nice, healthy lives after football. So
yeah, definitely take 2-3 minutes and go watch that Alex Smith video. It was impressive. We'll stick, I guess, kind of with the Washington theme. The Washington football team did not attend Trey Lance's pro day, and team GM Martin Mayhew today said that they are very confident and comfortable with the quarterbacks on our roster now. So is that, I don't want to call bullshit, but I feel like it's kind of bullshit. I don't know. It's April 20th. Like the draft is 9 days away, and I feel like that's kind of bullshit. I feel like that's smokescreen.
Yeah. I think this lends to my argument that, again, I made half joking about 3 weeks ago, that they really like Kyle Allen. And that's the guy that they're like, no, we're good. We're okay. We're going to have Fitz do Fitz and play, half the season, and then turn the keys over to the guy that we want to move forward, Kyle Allen. You know what? I can't even stay with that. They're probably
no, you can't. That's
they're drafting a quarterback. Yeah. Maybe not Trey Lance, but they're definitely in the hunt. At some point, they're going to bring in a quarterback.
They have to.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to have any opportunity at the top 5 quarterbacks. So, why waste an unneeded trip to North Dakota?
Good point.
And now that Snyder is taking over full ownership of the Washington football team, all bets are off. We're just going to have to run with the Snyder show from here on out.
Yeah. I mean, if San Francisco does something stupid and takes Mac Jones at 3 and Kyle Fields is there at 4, I feel like the Falcons are going to have the pick of like really just whatever you want. Like Washington calls, what do you want? You can have it, because with Fields available at 4, that puts Denver, New England, Washington. I mean, it puts 3 or 4 teams right there for one of probably the second or third best quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, even Carolina could be in that mix. They really didn't give up a lot to get Sam Darnold onto their roster. So, I could definitely see them being in the mix to either move up, stay put. And, there's a number of teams that need quarterbacks right now. I don't think Washington will be taking one anytime early, though, in the draft.
Yeah. I just don't think they're going to beat. I don't think they're going to have the firepower to get to a spot where they'll be able to, unless all of what we're hearing in terms of like how the first 5 picks could be 5 quarterbacks right off the board. Unless that's kind of all smoke and mirrors and that's more of the media talking to themselves and then, kind of creating that narrative themselves. And we see those quarterbacks kind of fall because I think that happens every year where, especially in the realm that we're at, where we're looking mostly at football through kind of like that fantasy lens, still watching every real football game, but kind of thinking a little bit more about like, man, this offense is going to be great if they go out and draft a wide receiver in the first round when they also have 20 other holes to fill. And 9 of them on defense, right? Or all 11 of them on defense, right? So there's, I think, a little bit of like that echo chamber effect that happens with some of the draft stuff. So we're going to see kind of some of these quarterbacks. I think we're going to see some of them fall, maybe not, all 5 of them. I think Trevor Lawrence is pretty locked into the number 1 spot. I think you're probably going to get another quarterback off the board with either 2 or 3, maybe both of them, but somebody's going to fall, right? Think about what happened with Dwayne Haskins, who was like laughing to himself when Daniel Jones was being drafted. And that was like a shock, right? So I think there's a lot that we don't know all of the ins and outs of, and not just we as like the 3 of us, but like we as in like just media in general, the average person, that, we're not privy to the behind the scenes things that are happening. And who knows, maybe Washington's expecting somebody to fall because that's like the actual like GM look at it. It could happen, maybe, but
I'd bet more on teams trading up to get quarterbacks than one of them falling, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think they're going to go relatively quick this draft. I think you can lock in the top 3 picks are going to be a quarterback. I'm not sure, which combination of the quarterbacks will be there, but things will start getting interesting at the 4th pick with Atlanta. If somehow Justin Fields falls in their lap at 4, I mean, he's a Atlanta, Georgia native, so that would be awesome. However, Matt Ryan's contract is something to keep in mind there, that he is really locked in for the next 2 seasons. Like the cap hit if he left this year would be like 30 or 40 million, and then another 23 million in 2022. It's going to be hard for them to draft a quarterback and let that guy, sit and match rate for minimum 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's a really good point. All right, I'm gonna say the next bit of news because I have to say the slight tier. Ito Smith has been released. I always thought he just needed his opportunity, and I always thought it was going to happen, and then he would get hurt or something else. But Ito, you were one of those guys that I was like always pulling for. Please don't go somewhere where you're just going to clog my roster again. Please do me a favor. And Cordarrelle Patterson got picked up by Atlanta. 1 year, $3 million. Not a massive deal, but not anything that light either, where it's like Atlanta now has Cordarrelle Patterson and Mike Davis, 2 guys that they brought in to replace Todd Gurley, Brian Hill, Ito Smith, and
Quadri Olison.
I would say I put up in the sheet. Yeah,
I think Olson's the only person left on that roster, though, right? So,
I mean, any rookie running back that they draft immediately moves to the top of this running back depth chart. So, I'm not buying into the Mike Davis, Cordarrelle Patterson, Quadri Olison, whoever you want to, whatever running back they draft is a starting running back, in my opinion.
I agree with that, especially with Quadri. I liked him. I liked his prospect profile when he was coming out of UCLA, and it's clear that I think he got 3 carries the entire season last year. So it's clear that he's fallen out of favor with management. I don't think that he's going to be pushing for a significant role anytime soon. So I completely agree. Whatever, this is a team to look at where they can pick up a guy day 3, top of day 3, and that could be like a first round running back selection for them, So it'll be interesting to keep our eye on that situation in Atlanta, the backfield.
Yeah. And I think in terms of like Cordarrelle Patterson, he's going to do what he kind of did, I feel like, with the Bears, where it's like he's going to come on the field and you're going to be like, oh, there goes touches from my number 1 running back. Come on. And he's going to be just effective enough where it's like, oh, they're going to use him another like 3 or 4 touches next week. God damn it. And that's actually, I feel like, a compliment to him as an NFL player. But it sucks in terms of fantasy. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think they could, whoever they draft is going to be real interesting to see, where that goes and who kind of benefits from it. Cause there's a lot of interesting opportunities there in Atlanta. So
there's actually a lot of like really sneaky good mid-tier rookie running backs in this draft class too. So, if they can bring in like a Ramondre Stevenson, top of day 3, there's a number of backs that could fill that role that would excite me. So like I look for those opportunities. They've got one of the clear paths for significant opportunities. So that's going to be fun to keep our eye on that situation.
In an offense that could be absolutely stacked everywhere else. So yeah, running back they're one of the teams to watch who they draft, because like you said, they're going to be a high rookie pick, or a higher rookie pick than they probably should be if they went anywhere else.
I just hope it's not a Keyshawn Vaughn kind of situation.
I mean, I'm gonna take a quick victory lap on that. I was one of the few people that was like, I don't get the Keyshawn Vaughn love. I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't think he's a good pass blocker. Like everyone's like, he's such a great pass blocker. And I was like, he gets blown up half the time. Like he got in the way. And then a guy was just like, you move over there. And then like had a free shot at the quarterback. Or like one play that's like etched into my memory, he literally like does a circle in the backfield because he didn't find anyone to hit, and his quarterback's like behind him just getting like power slammed. And it's like, yeah, that's not good pass blocking. But yeah, I'm with you. Like it would really suck to have someone go to Atlanta and kind of get that Keyshawn Vaughn treatment, because nobody actually wants that, right? Everybody kind of wants to see guys succeed. But all right, last bit of news.
Yeah, let's finish on a defensive note here.
Mm-hmm. Browns signed Jadavian Clowny. The Browns, I can't believe I'm going to say it. They look like they might actually be competitive. And I wasn't with it. What was it, a year ago or 2 years ago, when people were like losing their mind about the Browns? And I was like, I'm sorry, guys, it's not going to happen. The Browns aren't there yet. And they actually feel like a well-run organization almost. Like I don't know if I can say that about the Browns without like
not yet.
Yeah, not yet. But it seems like they've been putting pieces together, and I think I'm excited to watch the Browns.
Their defense is really looking nice from top to bottom. Those 2 edge rushers they have is going to be insane to watch. I actually think they have one of the more underrated linebacking cores in the NFL as well. They just added Anthony Walker from the Indianapolis Colts. He's a guy I really like. Jacob Phillips was a little banged up last year, the rookie from LSU, but that guy is a baller. And Mac Wilson had the knee injury. I thought he was going to stay out all year, but he still worked his way onto the field through midseason. So they got a lot of young, talented linebackers there in Cleveland. So their defense is going to be raw and a lot of fun. And if they could put that offense together, I think that they should be able to. They were looking decent a year ago, made it to the second round of the playoffs. So Cleveland Browns fans should be in for a fun season.
Yeah.
Are we ready to start talking about the AFC West?
I think so.
I feel like I didn't realize, Ryan, that you were out on the West Coast, so I feel like this is right up your alley. You're going to have a lot more insight into these teams than Seth and I will. This is perfect. I think Seth did this on purpose.
Well, he gave me the choice of which divisions I wanted to cover, so I said, "Yeah, this is low-hanging fruit. Might as well go with what I know."
Perfect. Yeah. All right, so we'll start out with the AFC West. Start with the Chiefs. Finished up last year 14-2. They lost Sammy Watkins. They lost Damian Williams. They cut Eric Fisher. I mean, Fisher's a big loss there, and I think that's kind of it. They picked up Joe Thuney, the guard from New England. They re-upped Mike Rimmers, the right tackle. And who is this, Blake Bell?
Yeah, from the Cowboys.
Oh, you would.
Their fourth tight end.
Of
Come
course.
on. That's exactly what the Chiefs needed, right?
It's actually Blake Bell's second run with the Chiefs. He was on the Chiefs prior to joining Dallas.
Yeah.
The 49ers drafted him, so I used to love the Belldozer.
Learn something new every day.
I was going to say that is the most in-depth analysis I think I've heard, and like a recap of Blake Bell so far. Like everybody else is like, he's not going to be a fantasy viable kind of guy,
nope.
Especially unless something happened to Kelsey, which nobody wants that to happen. But the Chiefs, everyone made a lot of noise about Tampa Bay returning all 22 starters, which obviously is commendable, but the Chiefs really didn't lose too much there. And they were able to add some pieces to that offensive line, which that kind of seemed like their biggest need, especially towards the end of the season. You saw what happened when Pat Mahomes got hobbled, and that opens people's eyes when you go to watch the game to see Pat Mahomes, and you're like, why is he, limping around? That's not what you want to see. You want to see him. No. You want to see him scrambling and making ridiculous throws and looking in one direction, throwing in the other. You want that when you go to see Pat Mahomes, and you expect that out of that offense. And I think it's almost too easy to say, like, the Chiefs are not the Chiefs if it's not Pat Mahomes leading them. So I feel like there's probably more to happen with the Chiefs offensive line. In the draft, I think there's probably some room for improvement there, but for the most part, that offense doesn't need a ton. What do you think, Ryan?
You hit it right on the head. I wouldn't be mad to see the Chiefs draft nothing but offensive linemen right now, because a league where Pat Mahomes can't stand upright is not a fun league, in my opinion. And I called it from the very start when the Super Bowl was set. I said the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're gonna win this Super Bowl handily. Nobody believed me, but I said it's the Bucs defense that's going to be the difference maker. No Eric Fisher in the game, and it played out exactly how I thought it would play out. I won a bunch of money on that game, and Pat Mahomes was getting beaten up, and it was frustrating to watch because he deserves so much better than the protection he was getting. And as far as like offensive skill positions go, you can put anybody out there with the guy and he'll make it work. So, I don't think they're losing a great deal with Sammy Watkins leaving. Demarcus Robinson is going to step up into that position. They've got, the wide receiver 3 is kind of irrelevant for the Chiefs. So for fantasy purposes, if it's not Kelsey, if it's not Tyreek, and I do believe they will be bringing in a complement to CEH in that backfield. I was never, in the mindset that CEH was going to be a 3-down workhorse at the NFL level. He's a fun player. He's a quality player, and I enjoy his game. But for fantasy purposes, I think he's going to be sharing that backfield with whomever they're bringing in.
Yeah, I'm going to throw something out there real quick, just in terms of.
Nope, my turn. No, real quick. No, it's not a sexy pick, right? Because they have O-line issues. They're going to bring in people to help keep Mahomes upright. But Ryan, like you just said, it wouldn't surprise me to see them add a running back late, to see them add another wide receiver later, because it's Kelsey, it's Hill, and then it's Hardman, Robinson, Mecole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson, Byron Pringle. Like if they get a chance to add somebody, they're going to, and it's just going to make that offense, that much better. But it wouldn't surprise me if the first 2 or 3 picks were offensive line, just to help keep Mahomes upright and healthy.
Right. Yeah, and also they have a couple guys stashed on their practice squad right now. Tajay Sharp, okay. But Antonio Callaway was somebody who had incredible athleticism coming out of Florida. And he just, he was a knucklehead and, didn't take his career seriously, at least at the beginning. And so I'm hoping that Andy Reid has a track record of really turning guys' careers around that were once knuckleheads, except for Terrell Owens. But I'm cautiously optimistic, and I got Callaway stashed in a couple deep rosters.
So that's actually a perfect segue. Thanks for interrupting, Pat. The guy that I was just going to throw out is I feel like a wide receiver prototype that the Chiefs don't really have is that big body wide receiver. There's so many of them that are the little speedster guys, which works really well for that type of offense. But I'm wondering if they take a chance on a guy like a Nico Collins, who's 6'4", 216, something like that. And
or a Seth Williams jump ball extraordinaire,
or that kid
has a great name.
Say that kid out of Illinois, Josh Imator, baby, the dude with a 44-inch vertical.
Yep.
So it's 6'2", 6'4", that can jump out of a gym. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just that's something that I wonder. Do they go something like that in one of those 3, 4, 5, 6 round pick, because that could be really fun for Patrick Mahomes to have that big body guy. It's not going to be great necessarily for fantasy, because it may pull some targets, and especially the really valuable red zone looks away from Kelsey and Tyreek didn't really get used a ton in the red zone, but that offense, it could be a component that offense could use. And definitely something I think Andy Reid is really good at being able to work people into schemes and being able to work them into open positions. So I think it'd be really interesting to see if they got that true X wide receiver, that 6'4", 215, 220, doesn't necessarily have to be blazing speed, but decent speed and can jump out of the gym. Those are qualities that you don't really see in that roster. Put that on the other side of Tyreek Hill. Now we have some really interesting mismatches, and you put Kelsey out there. You do a run trips to one side with Kelsey, Tyreek, and one of these big body guys. How is the defense gonna match up against that? There's so many opportunities there. I'm kind of hoping that they do something like that versus go in a direction where there's a lot of slot receivers in this draft. There's a lot of smaller, slenderer, faster kind of guys. I kind of hope they go in the opposite direction and get a Seth Williams, a Nico Collins,
Sage Surratt, Warren Jackson. He might switch to tight end, but yeah, there's a couple of big body guys that I could see. I think that would be an excellent pick. Sometime in day 3.
Yep, day 3 or later. Yeah, that'd be great. All right.
Shall we move to Las Vegas?
Sure.
I think we should.
Gambling's legal there, so yeah. Let's
I'm just south of Detroit, Michigan. We've got 3 casinos here in Detroit, so gambling being legal is not a big thing.
What's amazing is I'm 5 minutes away from a casino, also, and gambling's illegal in New York State, and I don't get it. I can't do certain sports betting on my phone everywhere else in the world, but I can take like a bus to what is it, Belmont, and there's like and I can bet my life away. Come on,
go.
let's
talk about
in our vices, okay?
Let's talk about the Las Vegas Raiders. Players lost: Nelson Aguilar to New England, Ty Williams to Detroit, Devontae Booker goes to the Giants. They added, we'll start with the offensive players. They added Kenyon Drake, they added John Brown, they added Willie Snead, and they also added Yannick Ngakoue on the defensive side. So I'd say the big question is the Kenyon Drake signing. That one really confused me. And then it's kind of not an even swap at wide receiver. I feel like they got worse at wide receiver, even though they brought two guys back. But I feel like they fantasy draft hopes go out and get at least one wide receiver, because you have Brian Edwards, who was hurt, Henry Ruggs, who underperformed. You have Darren Waller, who is an absolute monster, but he's 29. So go out and get a young wide receiver. Add to your weapons for Derek Carr.
Yeah, Las Vegas has, they've been a desert. Let's put it that way, right? For fantasy purposes, I know they've only been there for a year, but they fit that desert climate quite well. As far as their offense goes, I like Smokey Brown. I'm a fan of his. He's getting a little bit long in the tooth. He was banged up a year ago in Buffalo. I don't know that we're going to have a ton of fantasy relevance on offense, even if they bring in anybody new. I'm still interested in seeing who's going to be the starting quarterback. I'm not convinced it's going to be Derek Carr. I think that the goal is to bring Marcus Mariota along. He flashed in the one opportunity he had a year ago and actually looked really good, especially on the ground. He had over 100 yards rushing, and he's only 26 years old. It feels like he's been in the league forever, but he's still a young man, and he still has a lot of football ahead of him. So if they can turn his career around, that will be really interesting to see. I don't know if people want to hear that own any Vegas wide receivers on their roster, because Mariota had a tough time even getting AJ Brown the ball when AJ Brown was a rookie. But Kenyon Drake coming in, I don't know. That's it's just going to cannibalize opportunities for both him and Jacobs. Where I see the Raiders really having glaring needs for NFL purposes, not so much for fantasy unless you play IDP, is I think they're going to upgrade their defense. They need an inside linebacker like a Micah Parsons. There's a couple good. There's actually 4 or 5 really, really quality inside and outside linebackers that they could, add to that defense. And I think that is where their focus needs to be. Let the young wide receivers kind of come along. If they can't get it done this year, then they can address that in next year's draft. But they can only go up from here, right? Or let's hope maybe they haven't reached bottom yet. But I think that they're going to be going defensive heavy in this draft and kind of seeing, and of course Darren Waller, even though he's 29 years old, that's still, relatively young for tight end years. So and the way he takes care of his body now. And, just I know John Gruden is quoted saying that he wouldn't trade Darren Waller for any player in the NFL. So I love Darren Waller. I've got him on a ton of rosters, and he's a Rhino through and through.
I like that. Just a couple of notes. They brought on Gus Bradley as defensive coordinator, and it sounds like he's going to be a pretty integral part in this draft. So it sounds like he's going to be kind of thumping the table for a whole lot of defensive players. So we should, it's pretty likely that they're going to go after defense. They started the season 6-3. And then finished it 8-8. So they had something going right in the beginning of the season that just kind of fell apart down the stretch. As for wide receivers, somehow Derek Carr made Nelson Aguilar a thing. So there's that. Like, Pat, if you still have it open, what did Aguilar get paid by the Pats? It was a pretty decent chunk of money. So like, you're gonna get a viable wide receiver out of that offense, because I think, just anybody staying healthy through the stretch is going to produce halfway decent numbers if they're the number one wide receiver on the team, no matter how bad that team is or how bad the wide receiving core is. And I think that's kind of what we have in Las Vegas, where somebody's going to produce, right? It may not be something you can start consistently, but somebody's going to produce.
New England signed Aguilar, 2 years, $22 million. $10 million signing bonus, $16 million guaranteed at signing. So they're paying him good money. I mean,
yeah,
the base salary is
1 year is his one good year in Las Vegas paid off because he was able to get that in New England. So there's going to be a wide receiver that does something in Las Vegas. It's going to be real hard, I feel like, to pick who that's going to be. Even though I like John Brown also, I don't know if I like him without a number one lined up across the field from him. Like when he, having Stephon Diggs helps him out.
But even when he had Diggs and he was healthy, it didn't do much. I don't see it. The wide receiver core in Las Vegas is, you got a couple of second-year players. I think the two, Ruggs and Edwards, one of those two should and probably will break out this year because they will be featured. I can't pick one because, like Ryan brought up, there are some questions about Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. You still have Waller, so it's a mess out in Las Vegas.
Outside of Waller,
it's a mess. Yeah.
Outside of Waller, I don't know. I shipped off my loan share of Henry Ruggs a couple months back, like right before they brought in John Brown, and I was stoked about it because I sold it to a Henry Ruggs fan for a big haul, and of course everyone roasted him in the league chat after I did that, but I still like Henry Ruggs. I don't know that he can be like a true dominant alpha or whatever have you. But what I did like was, Mike Mayock and John Gruden were very vocal last year about his underperforming, and he completely stepped up to the plate and said, "This is on me. I know I'm underperforming. This isn't the caliber of player that I am or that I know I can be." And so I like when guys take responsibility like that. And so, I'm rooting for him. I'm cautiously optimistic, but like you said, will it translate to consistent fantasy production? It's less than 50-50 for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have some pretty decent buy low candidates here. Like it sounds like you fleeced somebody with Henry Ruggs there. But I mean, I feel like in most leagues, especially right now, depending on what happens in the draft, if somehow the Raiders come out of the draft and, if they address their needs at defense, if they address offensive line, if they address maybe they grab a late round quarterback or something like that, there's a possibility that they walk out of this draft without a wide receiver that really moves the needle for anyone. And, is it worth throwing some kind of low ball offer out for Henry Ruggs or Bryan Edwards, possibly John Brown, depending on your team's situation. Like if you're a rebuilding team, that doesn't really do anything for you, but it's worth it's worth testing the waters for that, because I think we're all in agreement. Somebody's gonna do something. We just don't know who yet, and that is prime time analysis, right?
That's right. That's why we get paid the big bucks.
I'd still put my money on Henry Ruggs being peppered with targets this season. I like their Mike Mayock and John Gruden's. John Gruden doesn't have to worry about a hot seat, but Mike Mayock, that was his pick, right? And that was the number one wide receiver taken last year in a historically incredible rookie wide receiver class. So it's like, man, when you're seeing Justin Jefferson and T. Higgins and Lamb and Ayuk and we got Ruggs. It really pulled the rug out from under them.
I like what you did there.
Nice
good.
fun.
That was good. All right, let's go over to the Chargers. Almost called them San Diego. Let's go over to the. I'm going to do it again. I'll do it all year. I'll call them San Diego. Let's go to the Chargers. Chargers finished 7-9. Thanks, Anthony Lynn. So they lost. I'm conflicted here because they lost Hunter Henry, they lost Kalen Ballage, they lost Tyrod Taylor, and they didn't re-sign Melvin Ingram. They bring in Corey Linsley, the center from Green Bay. They bring in Matt Filer, who's going to play right tackle. They bring in Jared Cook, and then my favorite backup quarterback of all time, Chase Daniels. This is a team to me that is their head coach was their biggest problem last year. And I say that knowing full well that the head coach for the Chargers last year is now the offensive coordinator for my team. So it's frustrating because you have this rookie, no longer rookie quarterback, but you have this quarterback with a laser rocket arm in Herbert. You have one of the most underrated wide receivers in football with Keenan Allen. You have some questions in the backfield that could potentially be addressed there. Not a knock against Eckler or Justin Jackson, and
Kelly.
Kelly, thank you, Joshua Kelly. But you have some questions there. They can really make this offense dynamic because they spent some money to address the offensive line. So from a fantasy perspective, I'm really hoping that they bring in some more weapons for Herbert and they go all in because you've spent the money on the offensive line. Go out and you're in your window, right? You have this rookie quarterback window. Go get him whatever he wants, basically, and see what happens because they weren't that far off last year. They're probably not going to win the West, but go out, you win 10, 11 games, that puts you in the wild card spot, and anything can happen when you've got a quarterback like Justin Herbert.
They lost some really close games last year too that could have really pushed them over the edge into the playoff picture. I'm completely on board with you. If the San Diego or the LA Chargers do not, I went to school in San Diego, so I used to go to a lot of Charger games when LaDainian Tomlinson was on the team. It's one of my favorite players of all time, and so they're always going to be San Diego to me as well. But it'll be an absolute travesty if they cannot surround their young budding superstar quarterback to get him some quality weapons. Jalen Guyton, he was top 10 in the NFL wide receiver snaps last year. That Jalen Guyton, who why? It's really frustrating.
A D doctor, I do. He is free. He will be free in any rookie free agent draft on the waiver wire. He will be free. And it's a great call. I love it.
So one guy I'm really excited about that I have stashed on every roster is Donald Parham Jr. The guy is an absolute freak. Justin Herbert was already getting a rapport with him in the red zone when it counted last year. I know they brought in Cook, but this is a 1-year deal, and I think it's more to groom and nurture this potential, Darren Waller 2.0 type tight end. So I'm really excited about Donald Parham and what he can bring to the table. But like you pointed out too, I love Austin Eckler, but again, he needs a better complementary running back in the backfield with him. He is not a 3-down workhorse. He injured his hamstring a year ago, so he missed more than half the season. That guy's a baller when he's out there. But same thing with Justin Jackson. The guy gets banged up when he gets a large load. Kelly doesn't really do much for me at all. So please surround this man with some talent and see what he could do. You could probably get some wins and potentially be in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, and I think another thing that the Chargers, really was able to do is bolster that offensive line, because that offensive line was trash last year. And so they went out and they got one of the best centers in the league in Lindsley. They signed who was the other lineman that they signed? Pat just read it off, but they had another lineman in there.
Yeah, Matt Filer, the right tackle.
Yep. So, he may be a starter, maybe not, but they also could go out. They could pick up another tackle. They can pick up a guard. They can, I hope that part of this draft involves them grabbing some of those offensive linemen, some of those big, hog mollies that can get out there and, pave the road for them, and keep Herbert, upright and throwing the ball, and not to put Herbert in the same, conversation as Mahomes, but Herbert's an exciting player to watch also, right? So you don't want to see, you're not going to go to a Chargers game and hope they have, I don't even have a clue who their backup quarterback is right now, because they got rid of Tyrod. So whoever their backup quarterback ends up being, nobody wants to see that. They want to go and see.
Chase Daniels.
It's Chase Daniels. I actually think did I put that in the show sheet?
I think you did.
I definitely did. Yes, I did. Yeah, he's there. Okay. That's because we love Chase Daniels here. And so they need to protect them. So as much as it would be, it'd be great to get a workhorse back, maybe not a 3-down back, but at least an early down back for the Chargers, so that you can put Eckler in situations where he can thrive a little bit more and hopefully keep a little more tread on the tires for him throughout the season. Because like you said, when he plays, he's really good. It makes me really nervous to have him in fantasy though, because I don't find his production as consistent as some people like to point out. They're like, oh, he averaged 5 receptions a game. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not really accurate, because he had 2 games that were 11 and then his rest were all sub 5. So was 5 really an average game for him? No, it wasn't. Less than 5 receptions was an average game for him. And so it makes me really nervous of what his, output's really going to look like. Whereas if you can put him in a situation where he's going to be almost like a James White type of role, and then get the added bonus of you can mix him in on 1st and 2nd down because he can be effective, he's just not a guy that you want to give, 200, 300, 350 touches to, because I just don't think he can handle it. And, maybe he proves us all wrong, but I don't think he can handle it. At least he's shown so far that his body hasn't been able to live up to it. So it could happen there. Having a young wide receiver might be really nice to get them kind of going, because Jalen Guyton, that was a fun little plug right there. But you add somebody else there, that might be a little fun. But please add at least one offensive lineman to be like, yes, this is.
Yeah, I mean they're picking 13th overall in the 1st round. That's probably it's a deep class. That's probably the offensive line pick right there, because you're looking at Darisaw, you're looking at the kid from USC, you're looking at 2 or 3 guys that should be there at 13. So there's your offensive line pick. Then they're picking again at 47 and 77. There's your skill position. There's your wide receiver. There's your tight end. There's your Tremble, your Freiermuth, your Brevin Jordan. There's your, we're gonna load up on weapons now, and we're going to protect Herbert and give him, we're going to keep this window open while we have him on a rookie deal.
Yeah. Well, don't poo on Parham now, because I'm with Rhinos here with
Yeah, but if there was any,
that could be a super sneaky tight end play.
It would, but if they had any faith in Parham, would they have gone out and signed Jared Cook?
Yeah, that's what I said though. Is Jared Cook is what is he, 36, 37 years old now?
I mean,
So
he's my age, which is old.
that's my age too. So, but I think he's more.
He's 30. He's 34. We're actually older than Jared Cook.
I think he's somebody that's going to, be in that tight end room, bringing Donald Parham along. So I don't necessarily think that they need to address tight end. And with those top 3 picks that you pointed out, they've got to do something on defense. You pointed out they lost Ingram. They've got a lot of holes on defense. So, I mean, as good as Herbert in this offense could potentially be, if they can't stop anybody on the other side of the ball, it's not going to be much. So,
I just outside of the New England beating, they gave up 45 points there. They gave up 38 in a loss to Tampa Bay. And they're right in that probably – I can't do the math that fast, but they're probably right in that, average, giving up 25 to 28 points a game, which personally I'm not looking at anything else, the rest of the league. I think that's pretty damn good. I mean, their defense, yes, needs some upgrades, but they're right there. So I think most of their picks are going to be more offense than anything else.
They need a lot.
They need some pieces. All right. Broncos go to Denver next.
I'm not going off of this Chargers tangent just yet. Seth, you lead us off on the Broncos. Give me just a minute here.
Okay. I mean,
you get us going. Go.
Oh, okay. You're still looking up Chargers things. You're just gonna do your own thing over there. Okay, that's cool, Pat.
Yes, I'm doing what I want.
Denver Broncos 5-11. Lost Philip Lindsay. Lost Nick Vannett. They signed it seemed like every defensive kind of position out there. If you look at Spotrac or something like that, which we use almost all the time on the show, it's just all defensive players that they're signing, partly because their defense, wasn't great. And they also picked up Mike Boone at running back. So what do you think, Ryan? What do the Broncos kind of need to do in this draft to be better than 5-11?
It pains me to say the guy's got such a great name, Drew Lock. He's got a live arm. I just don't know that he could be a quality starting NFL quarterback. As painful as it is to say, I like the kid, I do, but I would love to see one of these top 5 quarterbacks get drafted by the Broncos and start lighting things up. Cortland Sutton going down last year, that really hurt my heart. He's one of my favorite wide receivers in the NFL. I own plenty of shares, and that also led to, I believe, Jerry Jeudy having a subpar rookie season as well. If Cortland Sutton was out there taking some of the pressure off, that could have been really exciting. It just didn't pan out that way. And Albert O, he was just starting to blossom and goes down with the ACL. So we're going to see two weapons come back in that offense. Losing Lindsay isn't the biggest loss in my opinion. It'll be interesting to see how they incorporate Mike Boone, but I would love to see the Denver Broncos get a quarterback and actually get it right this time. I would love to see that.
Yeah, and I think, they're at least one of the teams that are at a position where they could, somebody could fall to them, or they could go up and try and get somebody. And I'm right there with you with Drew Lock. I want him to be good. But he threw 15 interceptions last year, which is more than 6 teams, all but 6 teams. So he didn't do very well, but the Broncos were also last in turnovers and turnover percentage in the league. So they struggled.
Right.
They struggled holding on to the ball. They struggled being able to take the ball away. I think that's part of the reason why they brought in so much defense. I still think there is, I think, just a sliver of hope for Drew Lock. But I agree. I think if they go quarterback in the beginning, and I feel like you have to, you mentioned the fans being really tough with Alex Smith in the beginning of his career. And I think you're going to get that with Drew Lock here with the Broncos fans. I don't think Broncos fans are going to want to sit around, especially if a high draft capital is used on a quarterback this year, which you feel like they kind of need to. Fans aren't going to want to sit and watch, 8-9 weeks of the season with Drew Lock and know that they have a rookie quarterback that's willing to go. So I kind of see that being the case, which also makes me a little nervous for Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy and both tight ends there with Fant and Alberto, because if there's a rookie quarterback, statistically rookie quarterbacks are not able to float that high level of production on their, the passing options. It may mean something a little bit better for Melvin Gordon, especially with Phillip Lindsay not being there. But that usually means that defenses can be a little more stacked in the box. They can bring an extra defender down. They can bring the safety down. They can do a little bit more with their blitz packages, because they don't, they don't respect the quarterback's ability to diagnose the blitz quick enough to be able to beat them, right? So I feel like it's the right choice, but then it also is like, man, that really hurts my remaining shares of Sutton and possibly Jeudy and possibly Melvin Gordon, and I don't have any Fant, but I do have Alberto in a league or two, and it's like it's going to be like a whole nother year before I get any type of return that makes me feel good if they take a quarterback in, at the top of this draft, which I think they need to.
They have a lot of picks, 3, 6. I see 9 picks. I mean, they do have some good firepower if they want to move up to, let's say, 4 to get a guy like Fields. The rub here is an offensive line that finished 25th last year, according to PFF. Defensively, we hit on it. They lost a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball. I'm sorry. They brought in a lot of guys on the defensive side of the ball. So they're trying to shore up the defense. I could see, again, that number 9 pick being an offensive lineman. I could see moving up to draft a quarterback, because this is an offense that is with Fant, with Alberto, with Sutton, with Jeudy, with Hamler, with Patrick, with Melvin Gordon. That's there. It's right there. You're just, the most important position on the field is what you're lacking. So from a fantasy draft I hope it is a quarterback. But for a fantasy outlook, if it is a quarterback, you have to start looking at fading some of those guys, because you're relying on a rookie quarterback to distribute and especially if it's at 9, you're looking at Mac Jones, who I'm just not sold on. You're looking at a Trey Lance. So unless they move up to get a Fields, I don't really like any of the other rookie quarterbacks in Denver. And I definitely don't see them moving up to, 1 or 2 to get Lawrence or Wilson.
Yeah, I've got a funny story. I think Denver is still really got a bad taste in their mouth drafting Paxton Lynch in the first round a few years ago. I met John Elway at an event a week after he drafted Paxton Lynch, and I congratulated him on his Super Bowl championship that they had just won. And then they were drafting Paxton Lynch, and I said, "Hey, great pick." And he shakes my hand. He's just got this huge smile. He's like, "We like him. he's big, And I actually thought Paxton Lynch was going to be good, and he was anything but. He was such a bust.
Yeah.
He was fun to watch at Memphis, though. He really was.
So yeah, the knock. John Elway loves himself a big quarterback. So I guess that means they're drafting Kyle Trask, right? They're gonna take Trask at like 71 overall or something.
I think that could work though, because even Locke was a late second round pick, so it's not like they have a ton tied up in him. They could easily move on from him and not bat an eye about it. So I could totally see them bringing in like a middle round quarterback and potentially grooming him to take over as starter this year or next. We'll see how it shakes out, but they got to do something. I don't think Drew Lock is the answer there.
No, agreed there. All right. Shall we move, Seth, anything else, or should we move over to the NFC?
No, NFC West.
NFC West. Let's start in Seattle. Finishing 12-4, losing Shaquille Griffin, David Moore, Carlos Hyde, re-signing Chris Carson, $5.5 million for a year, and picking up Gerald Everett from the Rams. We've hit on most of these already throughout this offseason. I think we both like the Carson and Everett pickups. Everett is a sneaky, probably back-end tight end one this year. I saw the tweet a while back. Seattle just needs to protect Russell Wilson. And this is one where if every pick or almost every pick isn't offensive line, I think people are going to be furious because you have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL who is sacked the most every single year. So protect Russell Wilson, and really the offense takes care of itself.
Yeah. So just a point of clarity, there's a 1 year out in Carson's contract.
Gotcha.
So it's $5.5 million with 1 year, but he signed a 2 year, I think it's $11 million, or 2 year, 10.5, something like that. But the part that's funny to me is I could see Seattle being like one of the first teams to take a running back off the board again, and it's going to be like, oh no, Rashad Penny all over again. No, he's still on the team. No, just they love some running backs out there in Seattle. They don't want to put anybody out in front of them to be able to block. But they love themselves some running backs. But I agree, Pat. I would use 3 picks on offensive line if not more for Seattle here, and definitely one of the first picks is as an offensive lineman if it falls to them. Obviously, if somebody amazing falls in a different position, you kind of need to pull the trigger on it, but they're not going after a top level quarterback. They're probably not going after a top level wide receiver. They could go defense because their defense, hasn't been great. And they lost Shaquille Griffin, so that's kind of a big loss for them. But man, they need to put some big boys out in front of Russell Wilson and actually let Russ cook, because he was very limited.
Has Pete Carroll lost his touch? And I say that, smiling ear to ear because I'm here for it. I think he has. Pete Carroll does have a knack for drafting players I like and reaching for those players. Like, I was a massive Rashad Penny fan coming out of San Diego State. I do have a bias, though. I'm, San Diego State Aztecs myself. So I think Rashad Penny, a couple years back had an absolutely brilliant collegiate season. Mountain West, granted, or was it Mountain West or WAC? No, they're Mountain West. So either way, the level of competition wasn't great. And I still believe in Rashad Penny's talent. He had some confidence issues, some weight issues, and then the blown out knee was just a heartbreaker. And he was just starting to blossom. He was just starting to flash his abilities. Russell Wilson, it seems like the marriage, the honeymoon phase has fleeted. He stormed out of a meeting earlier this year, like during the off season, that didn't get a whole lot of coverage. So Mr. Unlimited is, he's the whole college pep talk is kind of wearing off in Seattle, and I love it. I'm here for it. So I think that they're going to need to do a lot. They've got a lot of holes throughout their team. They always manage to put something together, and they're always, right there to be able to compete. But this division is getting tougher and tougher and tougher. So we're having, change at who wins the division each and every year, it seems.
Mhm.
So the competition in the NFC West has probably never been higher. It's going to be really fun to see this division play out and who will end up on top when it's all said and done. But Pete Carroll always, he does, I'll give it to him. He always finds a way. And the linebacker that they took last year, Jordan Brooks, it was a huge reach in the first round. I think he was projected like a 3rd round draft pick, but I actually really like that linebacker. I think as Bobby Wagner is getting older. I think he's about 32, 33 now. So he's, at the tail end of his career. I think Jordan Brooks is going to step in and fill that position. That torch is going to be passed probably this year and next. So, I mean, they still got pieces. You pointed out the running backs. They've got several. And in fact, Alex Collins actually, he looked really sharp last year in a couple of the games that he got to play in and in the playoffs. Pete Carroll is saying that he's never been faster. He said he looks quicker than ever. They just signed him to another 1-year contract. So I think he's a guy that I don't think is getting enough talk about. People are, DJ Dallas and, Travis Homer is kind of a forgotten guy there as well. But they've got a stable of running backs. I don't think that they need another one. They'll probably draft another one. But, get Russell some protection, get him some weapons. And, they lost a lot of players on defense too. So it'll be really interesting. And the whole trade for Jamal Adams, he really holds that team hostage now. That was kind of a bonehead trade in my opinion. But it's not like Seattle knows what to do with 1st-round draft picks anyway. So maybe they save themselves on that front.
I think you're, part of you projecting your chaos in Seattle, which I kind of enjoy. I like it. But honestly, looking at their competition, there's a possibility that Seattle ends up going from top of the division to bottom of the division this year, partly because of the competition that they're going to be facing in that division. And if the marriage is estranged with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, are we going to see Russ, be able to do what we've become so accustomed to watching him do, especially if the offensive line isn't there to protect them? Is this the year where, obviously we don't hope for anything to happen, but is this the year where he finally gets lit up one of these times, scrambling for his life and needs some time to recover from a big hit? Is it a year where that defense, that, like you mentioned, Jamal Adams kind of having the team hostage there, that a lot of players not being able to stay on the team, right? They have to kind of release some players with cap space, kind of like, the Magic the Saints are working with right now, and letting people kind of walk because they can't sign them. Is this the year where all of that comes to a head and Seattle now finishes out as, a 6-11 team or, a 7-10 team because, they just can't get that magic back together? And in this division with, the 49ers, the Rams, the Cardinals, is that, a death sentence for them in this division? And it could be.
Yeah. I'll believe it when I see it though. As much as I'm hoping for that, Russell Wilson, you can never keep the guy down. He's always gonna, I've seen him do it too many times. You put the team on his back, and look at what Aaron Rodgers did this last year. You light a fire under this guy's ass, and he could show you that he's Hercules, and just will the entire team to a playoff berth. So as long as that guy is healthy, I'm not betting against him.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as long as you have Russell Wilson under center, you have, you have a chance. So do whatever you need to do to protect him.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Up next, the Rams, 10-6. They lost Gerald Everett. We talked about him going to Seattle. Josh Reynolds went to Tennessee, and Malcolm Brown. I don't remember where Malcolm Brown went, but does it really matter? Miami. There we go. And then pickups Deshaun Jackson and Matthew Stafford in the wild golf trade. And I think that makes the Rams a much better team. What do you guys think?
Absolutely, it does. I don't see how they got worse. I mean, they added this little homerism coming up, but they added a very, very good and very underrated quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Losing Everett hurts, losing Reynolds hurts a little bit, but you have a potential deep threat in Deshaun Jackson. You still have Cooper Kupp. You still have, Tyler Higbee. You still have Bryson Hopkins. You have plenty of weapons for your quarterback. You have a great young running back in Akers. The draft picks here, they're not going to be sexy. They're going to be to bolster a defense because you play in a very good division. They're going to be to protect your investment of Matthew Stafford. So I would expect to see a lot of offensive line picks, a lot of defensive picks for the Rams because, again, they went 10-6. They're right there. There were arguments that Goff was holding them back. Now you have this, a huge upgrade at quarterback. So protect him, shore up the defense, and, now you're back in a position where you're winning divisions, you're hosting playoff games, and you're making deep runs, into December, January, or even February now.
Yeah. And the one player that I'm excited for in the Rams is Van Jefferson. And I'm excited for him to get his opportunity. He's one of the guys that I really enjoyed coming out. And I'm hoping that he's one of the guys that goes back to like the 3-year breakout type of wide receiver where it takes a little time to, get through the ranks and get to where he needs to be. But he was one of the best route runners in that class. I think isn't he the son of a wide receiver or a wide receiver coach? Is like part of his bio, and you can tell it in the way that he, the way he crosses a defender's face on slant routes is like a thing of beauty, and you could tell that he's been coached up to that. So, it's not the sexiest pick. It's not Kupp. It's not Woods. It's not Cam Akers. It's, it's Van Jefferson is who I'm excited to see what happens. And a guy that I have in a handful of spots stashed away. And it hopefully will come to fruition because, like I said, I love watching guys that are, technicians at route running, and Van Jefferson is that type of guy. And I think the Rams have the offense that can really utilize that. So I kind of hope that the Rams don't take a wide receiver in the draft, even though they might, because that'll make me feel a little bit better about my Van Jefferson shares. But man, that team is a team that is set up for success right now. So.
Yeah, Rams were a victim of their own success. They really leveraged debt over the past few seasons better or more than any other team in the NFL, right? Like they cashed out front-loaded contracts, and they were like, the window is now, and then we saw the floor fall out from underneath them this past couple seasons. So they're only going to go up from here. Matt Stafford, incredible talent. Let's see. He's 32 years old, 33 years old now. Has had significant back surgery. Let's see how long that back holds up. They got to keep him upright too.
And don't forget a lot of injuries to the throwing hand. A lot of thumb, forefinger, middle finger injuries too, to go along with breaking his back a couple of times, not once, but a couple of times.
The stresses at home. His wife dealing with the brain surgery and whatnot. I can't even imagine the stress he was under So I'm rooting for him, even though he's in my division. I don't want to bet against a guy like that. Like that guy has a chip on his shoulder, something to prove, and usually you don't bet against guys like that. And so, it'll be interesting to see if they can, really put a team around him. I'm excited about. Sorry, my computer needs some juice. I am really excited for Cam Akers. He was really getting that workhorse load towards the end of the season, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I know people, they're a little concerned about his ADP being too high, but that guy's a stud. I love former quarterbacks playing running back or playing wide receiver. I love football players, and Akers was considered to be a little bit raw coming out. Might not have had the best vision, but the guy is a stud athlete, awesome competitor, and it's like you pointed out, Seth. Van Jefferson. They drafted him in the second round last year. He was a little bit older prospect, but he could really take a huge step forward this year. And nobody's really talking about him, or he's kind of been forgotten, right? Because he didn't see the field a whole lot in his rookie year. So he's another, fantasy target that you can go out and acquire, like as a throw-in or inquire for incredibly cheap. And
just pick up off the waiver wire, like, oh, free, thank you.
I don't know if he's. I don't think he's on the wire in any leagues I'm in, but there's a lot to look forward to with this team, and I'm, sorry, Pat, I'm happy to see. I'm happy to see Matt Stafford join a franchise that might for the first time put a winning organization around him.
No, I'm no need to apologize. I'm glad he went to a team that is going to actively try to win, and they're going to surround him with, talent and do everything they can to win, because his career was up until this point, it's empty numbers, right? He has a lot of almost all the Detroit passing records. He's at the top of the list for a lot of NFL records too, but they're all empty. I'm pretty sure he'd trade all of them for a playoff win or a
Absolutely.
Super Bowl appearance. So, I'm rooting. It sucks because I want to root against the Rams because I want their draft picks to be better in the coming years, but I also don't want to see a guy like Stafford, who I've got to watch for the last 9, almost 10 years. I want to see him do well because he did a lot of great things in this community. So I'm hoping they do well this year and then bad after that, because I want those picks to be good in the years to come. All right, let's go to Arizona. Cardinals finished 8-8 last year. They lost Patrick Peterson, Hassan Reddick, and Kenyon Drake, who we touched on earlier when we talked about the AFC West. They brought in J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, James Conner, and Matt Prater. So there's a lot to unpack there for Arizona, because they brought in some veterans. We'll say. We'll be nice and call them veterans. They're not old; they're just veterans.
Yeah, they're aged.
That's well put. Yeah, I mean, again, it's not going to be anything sexy because they have a young quarterback in Kyler Murray. They have a very deep wide receiver room with Hopkins and AJ Green and Christian Kirk. They're a little light at running back. I could see running back being a priority here. I mean, they have James Conner, they have Chase Edmonds, but that's about it. So this is another scenario where, we talked about Atlanta at the top of the show being a spot to watch for a running back. I think Arizona is right there as well to see who they pick up. So, running back here in the draft could be and should be good. But other than that, the rest of the team, to me, seems pretty solid.
Yeah, Arizona is going to be a fun team. Kyler Murray is one of my absolute favorite players in the league. He's so dynamic. I have many shares of him. My favorite players in the league are at least on the offensive side of the ball. Jonathan Taylor, of course, Kyler Murray, and George Kittle. Those are probably amongst my 3 favorite players. It's scary to think about that Kyler Murray still has room to grow, that he still, no pun intended, because I know he's lacking in height, but as far as dynamism goes, oh my goodness, he is one of my. He's just so much fun to watch. Even though he's in my division, I can't help but root for the guy. I got to see him live I was supposed to go to opening day last year that got canceled because of COVID, but I did get to see him here at Levi Stadium, nearly defeat the Niners during our Super Bowl run year. They're going to be they're pretty much a complete team. 8-8 doesn't really do it justice for what they have. James Conner is an interesting guy to bring in on a 1-year deal. If he could stay healthy, great. Chase Edmonds is also going to be a great complementary back to Conner, and I actually think that Benjamin and Jonathan Ward can also provide. Those guys can ball themselves. They just need the opportunity. And they're both young backs. They were both rookies last year. So whether they add a running back in the draft or not, I think they'll be okay. The wide receiver room is getting more interesting, even though it's getting older. Say what you want about Dan Arnold. I know Kyler Murray likes him a lot, but I could easily see them upgrading the tight end position as well through the draft. And there's a lot of good tight ends in this draft class to choose from. So they're pretty solid from top to bottom. I don't know, what more they would need to really push them over the top. It's just about putting together what they already have and Kyler Murray taking those next steps as quarterback.
Yeah, I could definitely see them, with the loss of like Patrick Peterson and Hassan Reddick, I could see them, taking the defensive guys to try and replace those two. Even though they have JJ Watt, he's one of my favorite players, and I just don't know what you're going to get out of him at this stage anymore. Like it's going to be there in terms of his like determination and like his work to be on the field. I wonder at this age and this point in his career if his body's able to withstand the punishment that it takes being a defensive end in the NFL. So that makes me a little bit nervous. I wonder if they're going to, kind of bring somebody in to, possibly learn behind one of the great defensive ends of our time. And then, I think you're spot on with the tight end piece. Is there a way that Kyle Pitts falls to 16? Is that too much?
Kyle Pitts isn't falling outside the top 10. No way.
Does Arizona make a move up?
Yeah, potentially.
6 picks, 7 picks to get into the top 10 to get Kyle Pitts? Is that something that?
Boy, that'd be a spicy offense out there in Arizona.
It would be spicy.
I'd love that a lot.
I don't. Cliff Kingsbury. It's clear that he doesn't use the tight end like as a featured role, so I don't see them making a jump to go get Kyle Pitts. That would be awesome, but like I said, there's enough good tight ends where you can get them day 2, day 3. So I don't think that they would exercise all that draft capital to go up to get a Pitts. They need a corner. They need a defensive backs right now. Losing Patrick Peterson, getting that pass rush this year. They need guys that could cover. So that's, I think, going to be the top priority for them.
They're right in that sweet spot to get a guy like Kwity Paye or to take the top corner on the board, whether it's Surtain or JC Horn. Exactly. Tight end, yes, it's a need. But again, you have guys, they're not Kyle Pitts, but you have Freiermuth and you have Brevin Jordan. You have guys that will be serviceable later on. But man, who is more likely to trade up, Dallas or Arizona for Kyle Pitts?
If Dallas moves and doesn't take Patrick Surtain or JC Horn, I'm gonna be so mad as a Cowboys fan. Like I might walk out of the draft. Like I'll be there in Cleveland. Like I will take a moment where I turn the TV off, like at the bar, because me and my buddy go to the bar every draft. And that's like that I'm just gonna be like, sorry, we need to turn this off for just a moment.
Two stories. I love Seth and I know we've been doing this together for about 4 years, so we know how to push each other's buttons. So any Cowboys talk, immediately we'll get Seth all sorts of fired up. But Seth, I did the same thing when the Lions drafted Brandon Pettigrew all those years ago. I literally turned the draft off, got in my car, drove to the store, bought a case of beer, came home, drank it all watching the rest of the draft because the pick upset me that much.
Yeah, that seems like
that seems fair. That's a reasonable
system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
Don't try this at home, kids.
No, we're professionals.
And then you repeated that same process when they drafted Ebron and Blockinson.
Don't you dare. Don't. We don't have enough time left on this show.
My tradition is going to the bar and watching the draft. Pat's is turning it off after a top 10 pick because they always draft in the top 10, and then going and buying a case of beer.
Who hates their? I want to know what franchise hates their first round draft picks more. Is it
the
Detroit?
Jets?
Or is it the Jets? Yeah.
It's always the Jets. The correct answer there is the Jets. Always.
I don't think Detroit's as far behind as you think, though.
Yeah.
I'm probably blind to it, but yeah, it's probably closer than I want it to be. Damn it. All right, let's finish this off. Let's talk about the 49ers. Losses here. Kendrick Bourne, Marquise Goodwin, Tevin Coleman, Jerick McKinnon. Some key pickups here. Trent Williams, who they re-signed. They brought in Alex Mack, and they brought in Mohamed Sanu. I'm going to let you go first here, Ryan, since this is your squad. So fill us in. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, it's great getting one of the perennial best centers, bringing him back to the Bay Area. Cal Bear. I've always been a fan of Alex Mack. He seemingly makes the Pro Bowl each and every year. Has only played for 2 franchises prior to joining the 49ers. I know he's towards the latter part of his career. He's 35 years old, but we've seen centers, they can last up till 40, when they take care of themselves. So I'm excited about what we've done on the offensive line. The departures that left, weren't key pieces anyway. So I think we're going to get better upgrades at those losses, the voids that those guys have left. And of course, it's all about what we're going to do at 1.03 come next Thursday. And so I've got a little party going on here. It's going to be a very special pick. I think we all know that we're going quarterback. It's just which one is it going to be? And I can make an argument for any of these guys except for Mac Jones.
I was just going to so you're out there, right? You're in the thick of it. You get a lot more 49ers talk out there on the West Coast than Seth and I do over here on the East Coast. Is Mac Jones really a thing? Like, is it serious or is it like smoke and mirror? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand the Mac Jones here.
I will be absolutely shocked. Look, Niners have – even ever since the Bill Walsh days, we've been known for blowing smoke, and it's 420 right now, so a lot of smoke is being blown around the Bay Area right now. I didn't buy the Mac Jones talk at all. Even last year, after we lost to the Buffalo Bills, Kyle Shanahan made a statement saying that in order to win in this league, you need a big mobile quarterback. That's what after watching Josh Allen rip us apart, he said that. And if you look at the archetype of what Shanahan has worked with throughout his career as both offensive coordinator and head coach, there is that element of mobility. And so the 3 guys that will be available, or 2 of the 3 guys that will be available, I should say, we know most likely Trevor Lawrence is going to be going number 1. The intrigue is at number 2, right? We don't know exactly what Robert Saleh is going to be doing, where he's going, but Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch know exactly where he's going. They wouldn't have moved up to number 3 and forged the future to do that if they didn't know that they were getting exactly the player that they wanted. And so, again, it's going to be, in my opinion, one of the 3 between Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. I can make an argument for all 3 of these guys. We've actually worked with Justin Fields privately. That doesn't get talked about a lot. Zach Wilson's father is like one of John Lynch's very best friends. And that also is a bit of information that gets overlooked throughout this. Steve Young has been pounding the table here for Zach Wilson. Of course, he's got the BYU connection. So, out of professional courtesy, he's obligated to do that. And I have this sneaky suspicion that if Zach Wilson is off the board at 2, that we might very well be taking Trey Lance. We're going to go with the ultimate toolbox, and we're still retaining Jimmy G's services. It doesn't cost us very much to do that this year. So there's rumors maybe draft day trade. If we're drafting Trey Lance, I want to see Trey Lance sit and absorb that robust playbook of Kyle Shanahan's for one season. Let Jimmy G's like really good friends with a lot of the teammates that are on the team too, and he just hasn't been able to stay fully healthy over the past 4 seasons. So
has he been there for 4 years already?
3.5. He came. We got him on Halloween in 2017. That's and wild. He came out right when we got him. He won the final 5 games of the season. It was awesome. Like Levi Stadium. That was the first time it actually felt like a home game, like Candlestick. And
that's a blast from the past. There, talking about Candlestick.
Oh yeah. So Jimmy G was a lot of fun when we first got him. The knee injury, his second season with us was devastating. He bounced back. Of course, we had an epic team surrounding him with a pass rush that is one of the best pass rushes in the past decade. And so he had a great team around him, and he was able to manage it well to get us to the Super Bowl. And we were 10 minutes away from becoming Super Bowl champions if it wasn't for the amazing Pat Mahomes and his mega arm and his mega grit. So Jimmy, he hasn't been able to stay healthy, unfortunately, and he doesn't have that game breaking arm, right? Like he's incredibly efficient and accurate between 0 and 25 yards. Anything beyond that, it gets squirrely, and he's not able to hit the guys when they become wide open with accuracy. So that's what we're looking for. We need a bigger arm. We need a guy that's going to stay healthy. And I'm going to be thrilled with whoever we decide to go with. It's going to be exciting. I do hope that we treat them with care, allow them to, sit on the bench, hold the playbook, absorb the playbook. Chris Bird of the Sacramento Bee is he gets a lot of the 49er forecasting correct, and he is throwing down the gauntlet that Trey Lance will be the 49ers quarterback of the future come Thursday next week.
Wow. That's interesting. I'm gonna pause the quarterback talk for a second. I just want to bring up the fact with like Jimmy G and like his knee and staying healthy and stuff. I think one of the big kind of comebacks for the 49ers is hopefully going to be health on the team. Like they dealt with a lot of health issues last year, which
probably more than any other team.
Yeah,
we had the most
because most games lost to injury.
We set the record for having most cap money tied up in injured players than any team in NFL history last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
But yeah, you should get hopefully we get a healthy full season out of Ayuk. Hopefully we get a full season out of Debo. Hopefully, I think the 49ers are going to be a team that's going to draft a running back that's going to make people be like, oh, it's a 49ers running back. Oh,
Always.
I can't help but to draft them. Damn it.
There go all your JaMychal Hasty shares.
Hey, I've told you I've loved JaMychal Hasty for a while now. Stop teasing.
It's fun.
But I mean, any running back in that system can be a really good running back. That's why Jeff Wilson has been good. Mostert's been good. I mean, McKinnon's been hurt way too often to be good, but
Tevin Coleman wasn't any good.
Another one that was like hurt though. Like I feel like his entire 49ers career, at least recently, has all been, sitting on the bench or in the medical tent or whatnot. Like, and even if they draft a quarterback first round, number 3 pick, like Ryan was just saying, having them sit and having Jimmy G hopefully be healthy this year, like you're just hoping that team comes back healthy because, like you said with the Cardinals, 8-8 doesn't really do that team justice. 6-10 does not do the 49ers justice, and I would be shocked if they finish 6-10 this in 2021 unless the entire team gets hurt again. And didn't Kittle miss some time this year?
He
also
did.
That this year, yeah.
Jordan Reed stepped in pretty nicely for him.
Yeah. So, I mean,
we
every person.
we dealt with so many injuries, and I'm glad that you brought up the running back position because, as much as I'd like to see the Niners draft one of these top tier running backs, it's just not with the stretch zone scheme. It akens to injuries. Like guys that run the stretch zone scheme, there's more ACL tears, there's more injuries that happen because you need to find this. You're basically crashing down hard against the line before any hole is available. Like you're trusting that hole is going to be available. You pick your spot, you put your foot in the dirt, and you head upfield as fast as you can. And because of that, though, again, guys, they run into a brick wall at times, or they get hit at unfavorable angles because of the stretch zone scheme. So we need to have that constant stable of running backs. I don't think that we're going to see one epic workhorse running back as much as I'd love to see it. Like I've always wanted that Walter Payton or that Barry Sanders on the 49ers. Frank Gore is probably the best that we've had. But so with Shanahan, he prides himself on being able to find the diamonds in the rough. And he says that I don't need a first round running back talent to succeed in my scheme. I just need a guy that has, top tier burst and will trust that the hole will be there when it comes open, trust that it will be there. And so, but again, not like, it's football and not every play is going to run a script. In fact, none of them do. So, it's really tough on the running backs in San Francisco. And that's why, guys go down, guys get banged up, and we need a bunch of them. So I would love to see an ETN come to San Francisco, or, we're always going to draft a running back. Kyle Shanahan loves his running backs, but it's probably going to be in round 4, 5, 6 or undrafted.
Yeah. And it'll be a guy that's going to be sitting out there, and I'll be like, oh God, don't do it. 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 Just don't do it. I did it. Okay. I drafted him. He's on my team now. And it's going to be like, oh, now I have to hope that he gets his chance. And like you said, I know the one way he's going to get his chance is because somebody up top is going to get hurt in some way, shape, or form, because it does it. I would love to. I'd love to explore the correlation between injury and different zone, not even just zone schemes, but different like run schemes, and see like what that actually looks like. That'd be really interesting. Now I haven't.
New projects.
I don't have another project to do over the summertime. Like I don't have enough random projects to try and find
80% done.
You know what I'd like to see too. Much like Kansas City, I think the Niners have been lacking that big body X receiver. We were hoping we had it in Jalen Hurd, and he's been dealing with some knee injuries and then a really bad back injury that I'm not sure if he had some of his discs fused, but that back injuries are never good. And he flashed in that his rookie year preseason. He scored a couple touchdowns in a game and it just was running guys over, looked awesome. And he hasn't been able to step onto the field for even one snap during his career. We've got Juwan Jennings stashed on our practice squad who could potentially be that big body guy, but I'd love to see that big body complement, just like we'd love to see in Kansas City. And then hopefully that would take some pressure off of George Kittle. And I really believe that Brandon Ayuk is a budding superstar. I think that if you can go out and acquire him, I think he's still really undervalued, and people are still, Kittle's the number one receiver there. Oh, well, they still got Debo. And as much as I love Debo, and he's an awesome player. Again, we pointed out that none of the top three receiving options have been able to demonstrate that they could stay healthy over the course of an entire season. But Brandon Ayuk, I really believe that he's going to have a special career if he can stay out of the tent.
Yeah, and that's actually a great segue into our last kind of promo plug. Viridian Global has a beautiful looking Ayuk t-shirt that could be yours if you use the promo code FAQS, FAQS, just like it's on your screen right now. FAQS at checkout. You could get one of those beautiful new t-shirts with a 10% discount. Ayuk's one. It's another one. Like part of the reason why I like Viridian Global is because all of their designs are so clean. It's not like cluttery and like too much stuff happening on the shirt. And the Ayuk one is a great one where it's Ayuk just going up for an amazing catch. So check out Viridian Global. Make sure you use the promo code FAQS at checkout.
That must be a new one. I didn't see that one. I'm gonna have to go pick that one up now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be using that promo code.
There you go. Also, we have the Viridian Global shirt to give away, the Jamarvel Viridian Global shirt. So to enter that contest, make sure you DM the show, me or Seth. Tell us who you think is going to draft Jamar Chase. Make sure you do it before the draft, though, please. I don't want to get anything like Friday, the day after he gets drafted with your guess. Again, multiple people, because we know a lot of you are going to get it right. We'll do a blind draw for the winner after the draft. Ryan. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Seth.
One more quick thing. There is the draft forecasting challenge that I am running. If we hit over 100 entries, we're at almost 30, I think, right now. So I know we're going to have more people kind of doing it as it happens. If we hit over 100, I'm going to be giving a jersey away to the winner who has the best draft accuracy using a Breyer score, which is a mathematical way to prove probability, like accuracy probabilities, which is really fun. And it gives it a way to actually go, see, Pat, I told you, I do know more about the draft than you. No.
I was just going back through. I was looking. I was going to ask you to send me the link, but I found it, so I will have to take this seriously because I don't want to lose to you.
No one does, but it happens. But yeah, make sure you guys check that out. And like I said, I'll give a jersey away. Whoever gets the highest score, really the lowest score, because it goes like golf. Lowest score, but whoever has the best accuracy, I'll let them pick what team's jersey they want, and I'll go and get one of those jerseys for them to send out. So, yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, Ryan, thank you so much for being on. Why don't you tell the people?
We'll put that link out as well
where we can find you.
This was so much fun, guys. I'm really glad that you brought me on. I really appreciate it. Before I go, Seth and I had a bet a couple seasons ago. I just wanted to bring up, I ended up losing the bet, and the bet was it was Miles Sanders versus Jordan Howard, who would have more fantasy points during Miles Sanders' rookie season, and whoever lost had to chug a michelada. And
Please
so
tell me you have a michelada.
I don't have.
I've been saving it for the.
I finally chugged it. I
50
finally
minutes.
chugged it. I should have saved it for this moment and just chugged it on air. I blew it there, but kudos to you, Seth. You definitely won that bet, and I'm sure we'll have more.
Definitely. And that was like 2 years ago, obviously. So,
It was.
obviously a great guy in the community, and we really appreciate you being able to come on, Ryan, and just being who you are on Twitter and being just a great person out there. So we appreciate that. Thank you.
Really appreciate you guys as well for having me
Thanks,
on.
Ryan.
It's awesome. I look forward to tuning in every week, and let's have an epic 2021 season, fellas.
That's right.
Love it.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.